Knowledge. Probably when you listen to this podcast as a business podcast, you probably have some knowledge and you also have some experience. The question is how to deal with both of these aspects in your organization. We most likely agree that knowledge is important. However, most people will say knowledge alone doesn't make the cut. You need to have the experience to make the knowledge worthwhile. And that's exactly where the problem begins. Often the relationship between knowledge and experience in organization is a very unclear one. It's often difficult, it's often ambiguous. People don't know how to define or put certain measurements or certain weights on one or the other. And often the relationship between the two is even contradictory. I give you a very simple example. Just during a workshop of last week, we looked at a job ad where for a quite junior leadership position, they listed quite something they expected as experience, and we tried to do the best math we could. However, even when you are really optimistic and anyone does anything and absolutely everything and anything on their first attempt right, which most likely no one will do, that job ad asked for someone who did their A-levels at the age of 16 at the very latest, if you only do the math of what experience was expected. And that, of course, let's face it, there aren't many people who do their A-levels at the age of 16. The question is, how do you deal with these aspects? How do you deal with knowledge? How do you deal with experience? So first, of course, define that. The definition. Knowledge is written somewhere. It is proven. It's based on evidence. It's based on facts. And these facts were found with valid and reliable methods. And of course, now some people might say, oh God, no, not the scientific stuff again. Yes, the scientific stuff again, because otherwise we're just doing chit chat and chumbawamba. We need to get to the facts here. Reliable means when you repeat the whole experiment, the same result appears. I give you an example. Let's say you have a scale and you have a certain weight, and you put the weight on the scale and it says 50 gram. And that's cool. It works. So you measure it again, 50 gram, measure it again, 50 grams. So it's reliable. When you do it again and again, you get the same result. However, the question is the result valid? Because when this scale is very old and probably doesn't show the right numbers, you measure 50 gram, 50 gram, 50 gram, but it's actually 100. It just shows you the wrong number. So reliability and validity both need to be met. I'll give you another example. Let's say you want to know if your employees are happy or not. And what you do is you do surveys. It's a reliable method to find out if people are happy or not. And the question is, what do I ask in this survey? And I'm going to ask you about, are you happy with your salary? The second question is, do you like the office furniture? And the third question is, are the windows cleaned regularly? And then I have a result. And now you might say, wait, Niels, what about work-life balance? What about colleagues? What about teamwork? What about the atmosphere? What about the corporate culture, the work culture? What about the benefits we offer, etc.? So you probably have 20 more questions in mind. And exactly, you are right with that. Reliability and validity are not easy to match. That, by the way, is the reason why people who do not stick to that can chat more nonsense in 5 minutes than scientists can prove wrong in 5 years. When you don't have to stick to valid and reliable methods. So, for example, motivational, inspirational speakers often tell people if you believe in yourself, you will have the most amazing career and get what you want. And there's scientific evidence to that this is not correct. When you are born in a war zone and you are a persecuted minority, you can believe in yourself as much as you want. Your life will most likely not be great without external help. So valid and reliable methods both need to be met. Otherwise, we are not talking about knowledge. And by the way, knowledge develops. It adapts by time. It's not that science has ever lied. It's that science just continues to do research and then you find out better solutions. It's not that penicillin was hidden away for the elites or whatever conspiracy ideology you often hear there. It just wasn't found. When it was found, it was published and then was made available to the general public. So it's very important that knowledge develops. However, when we now look into experience means you live through something by yourself. It is in your inner self. It forms your values. It is the guideline for certain ways how you act. It also forms certain viewpoints and also your beliefs. Your belief system is based on experience. I give you a very simple example here. When someone in a business context puts you in a certain situation where you find out at the end, oh, I invested money, but the investment scheme was fraudulent. So the money's gone now. And the person selling it to me had green shoes. And the next person selling you some investment scheme also had green shoes. And again, it was a fraudulent scheme. Then, by experience, you will probably say people with green shoes are people who sell fraudulent investment schemes. And of course, that might be reliable because it happened a couple of times, but it's not valid because you can't connect green shoes with fraudulent investment schemes. However, often people say my ideas, my beliefs, anything which is based on my experience is the only thing that works. And that's, by the way, a huge problem, especially in today's times. When we look at the relevance for organizations of knowledge and experience, we have to get to the point, and I know this is a hard point, it's a hard pill to swallow. Knowledge is the foundation of any value delivery. That's why we have preschool, kindergarten, school. Then we have different exams you have to do. Then we have different schools afterwards, from high school to college to university, from bachelor's to master's degree to PhDs, EdDs, DBAs, or vocational training and any kind of certificates and whatnot. Knowledge is the foundation of any kind of value add. I give you a very simple example. Let's say you go to the dentist and someone says, look, this whole knowledge thing, I just watched YouTube videos. I didn't go to university. Just open your mouth now. You probably won't. And by the way, I wouldn't do either. So it's very important to know knowledge is the foundation of any value creation. And if you don't believe in that, that's exactly the problem of belief systems, because this is a fact. I give you an example of what has gone wrong in the 1990s up to the early 2000s. There were people who said, well, these people who studied business administration or economics, they just become managers because you can lead, you know all the theory, so here we go. And of course, it didn't go down too well. I give you a very simple example. If someone would now say, Niels, you become a department leader in the automobile industry. If it's an IT team, it will do well. If it's a project management team, I might do well. I think I could. However, with the engineering part, we have to see how much is in there. If I should lead an engineering department, people would say, Brabandt, what do you want to tell me? You're not even an engineer. You don't even have an engineering background. You don't know what we do here. However, at a certain point in time, some people decided, by the way, people who studied business administration and economics, they decided that having that degree qualifies you to lead absolutely anywhere. And that, of course, is factually wrong. You need to have knowledge on the subject matter, or you have to learn very quickly. These are the two options you have here. Experience, however, can be a very good guideline. Still, it has to be questions. It needs to be questioned. You cannot manifestate experience and say, we now put experience on the level of knowledge and facts, because that's not how anything works. However, experience can help you in situations more than knowledge could do. For example, in certain situations, when you have a negotiation and suddenly someone puts a point forward you didn't expect and you lose the negotiation over that point, then you will learn that next time you're better prepared. And then probably a year later, this happens again with a different point. And then you learn and learn and learn by experience that when you're in the industry for 10, 15 years, you probably don't hear any questions you haven't heard before. That is where experience can help. Experience is very pragmatic. Experience helps you in the situation. Experience helps you in that very moment, because you can't sit down and say, oh, just let me get a book to get my knowledge out here. That doesn't work in a moment of negotiation. The question is, how do you now implement all of that in an organization? So first, you need to have an active knowledge management. And probably you heard the phrase, this organization has no ears, which means people say something very important, but it's never documented. It just doesn't happen. Nothing actually happens. So it just gets lost. And that's the problem. You need active knowledge management. Document everything in the CRM system, for example, customer relationship management. So the next generation in the organization, other people can see what's happening here. When negotiation partner X doesn't want to talk about topic Y, and you found that out the hard way, the next people negotiating with that person should know about this before they run into the same issue, problem, challenge situation. However, with everything you now have as an experience, let's say I give you a task. I tell you, could you please sit down and document everything of your experience? And no matter how hard you try, you will forget something. And why? Because there are certain aspects of the work you do which you consider so much of common sense, because they are so deeply ingrained in your experience that you say, no one can do that wrong. That's just common sense. I don't have to write that down. You wouldn't even think of writing it down. And then other people do it wrong. And you realize, oh, that's an issue for them? Couldn't have thought. Knowledge can be transferred. That happens via schools, universities, business schools, trade schools, whatnot. However, experience only to a limited extent can be transferred. And to bridge that gap between knowledge and experience and how to transfer both of them together, this is why you have seminars, workshops, coachings, mentoring, and this is what you need to offer as an organization. When we wrap all of this up to get it to one point, knowledge and experience, a successful organization knows both of these aspects, uses both of these aspects, and very importantly, values both of these aspects. Because only when you value both of these aspects, you can be sustainably successful. And I wish you all the best doing so. And when you say, that probably is a bit of work and maybe we are not doing too well here, no problem. Let's just have a chat. Feel free to contact me. My email address is nb@nb-networks.com. In the show notes of this podcast, I will put in for you my email address, my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me on there. And also my website, nb-networks.biz. You also find the transcript of this podcast on that website. If you want to talk about, by the way, about very specific training, coaching, speaking, whatever, cool. If you want to talk about something just very general, have a couple of questions and we just have a chat about that, cool as well. So feel free to contact me on any matter. The second aspect is also very important. Register for the leadership letter. When you go to expert.nb-networks.com, because we have live sessions, you can put your email address in there. And as soon as you do so, you only receive one email on the Wednesday morning. And in this email, you have 100% content ad-free guarantee. And that means, to be specific, free access to all podcasts in German and English, now more than 800. So 400 in English, 400 in German. I always do it bilingually every week for years now. And the second aspect is that you find free access to all the articles, so no paywall, no nothing. So all the articles are available there as well. To every podcast, we have an article every week. And the third aspect is you see the date and the time of our next live session, including the link. And you only have to click on the link, no registration, no nothing. So you only have to click on the link and then you see just that you can just access the live session on the date and time, which is mentioned in the email. We only communicate the live sessions via the means of the leadership letter. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. The third aspect, however, is the most important one. Apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you heard, you will see the positive aspects that you obviously want to see in your organization. I wish you all the best doing so. If you need any kind of help, let me know. Feel free to contact me. I'm available 24/7 and I answer any message within 24 hours or less. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and now I wish you all the best implementing all of this in your organization. At the end of this podcast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.